If yesterday had you pulling your hair out, pacing your living room, and wondering if this offense was about to slide right back into the dark ages, take a deep breath and relax. Caleb Williams just walked onto that practice field and delivered an absolute masterclass to remind the entire league exactly who he is. We are talking about pure poise, surgical precision, and the kind of swagger that makes you want to buy season tickets on the spot. But that is not even the only massive headline dropping today. The undisputed heartbeat of this defense is officially back out there, ramping up to full speed and setting a tone that proves this roster is built for absolute war. If you love pure, unadulterated football talk and want to stay ahead of every single game-changing update this season, hit that like button, share this with your crew, and smash subscribe right now to join the ultimate fan community. Let's dive straight into the offensive side of the ball because, let's be real, yesterday was painful. It was sloppy, it was frustrating, and it had everyone second-guessing what was going on behind closed doors. You just know those film sessions after a practice like that were completely brutal. Coaches calling guys out, players looking at each other, and the pressure mounting high. But here is the thing about great teams, they do not wallow in self-pity. They show up the next morning with a short memory, a chip on their shoulder, and a point to prove. That is precisely what went down today. Caleb Williams did not just bounce back, he completely took over the session. The young gunslinger went 9 for 10 in the red zone and casually threw 5 touchdowns. 5. He was dropping dimes into coverage, reading the defense before the snap, and making high-level throws look like a walk in the park. Colson Loveland was hauling and scoring passes left and right, looking like a total mismatch nightmare for defenders trying to stick with him near the end zone. Then came the play of the day. Caleb extended the play, targeted Caden Davis in the corner, and Davis went up to pluck a ridiculous one-handed touchdown right out of the air. Now look, we have to keep it somewhat realistic. Today's practice was in shells and shorts, which means the physicality was obviously dialed back. Linemen were not fully driving each other into the dirt, and defenders were not laying the wood. Take it for what it is. But mental toughness and execution still matter regardless of what gear the players are wearing. When your quarterback comes off his worst day of camp and immediately responds with a 5-touchdown performance, that tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. Is it too early to declare that this offense has officially turned the corner? Or do we need to see them put on this exact same clinic in full pads before we get completely hyped? That brings us directly to our official question of the day, and I want every single one of you jumping into the comment section right now to drop your take. With T.J. Edwards officially activated off the non-football injury list and making his glorious return to the practice field, this linebacker room is getting incredibly crowded, fast. Between Edwards working his way back, Devin Bush flying around like a missile all camp long, and Jack Sanborn holding down the middle like a steady anchor, how should the starting linebacker snaps actually be split once everyone is 100% healthy? Drop your ideal starting lineup and rotation down below, and let's get a real debate going. Seeing T.J. Edwards back in action, going through footwork ladders and individual drills, is a massive sight for sore eyes. We all know how tough last year was for him with the nagging soft tissue issues and that heartbreaking fractured fibula in the postseason. When a guy relies on elite instincts and swift movement to diagnose plays, watching how he moves coming off those kinds of injuries is everything. The early tape from today shows him moving smoothly, looking fluid, and cutting without any hesitation. While nobody expects him to suddenly transform into a lockdown shutdown corner in space, he does not have to be. If Edwards can simply be solid in coverage while continuing to be an absolute run-stuffing machine, pairing him next to the blazing sideline-to-sideline speed of Devin Bush gives this defense a devastating two-headed monster in the middle of the field. The front office and coaching staff are smartly ramping him up slowly. There is zero reason to rush a proven veteran back into full-padded team drills before his body is completely ready. Expect him to take things step by step, take the scheduled off day, and likely be a full participant in team periods by the weekend. Meanwhile, the battle occurring on the back end of the wide receiver depth chart is fast becoming one of the most fascinating storylines of the entire summer. We all know the top of the room is set in stone. You have your core established playmakers who are lock-solid roster locks. But what happens at that sixth receiver spot if the coaching staff decides to carry 6 wideouts into the regular season? Scotty Miller has long been viewed as the frontrunner for that role due to his experience and ability to stretch the field, but Caden Davis is making it impossible for the coaching staff to look away. Davis has spent the majority of his career fighting on practice squads, grinding through spring leagues, and operating primarily as a core special teams returner. He has never caught a pass in a meaningful regular season NFL game, yet every single time the lights get bright in practice or preseason settings, he finds a way to pull down highlight reel catches. Putting him out there with Caleb Williams during reserve heavy sets was a brilliant move by the coaching staff to see how he handles top-tier quarterback play. If Davis continues to show out as both a reliable backup return specialist and a receiver who can make contested one-handed snags in tight windows, he could easily steal that final roster spot. Preseason games are going to carry massive weight for these bubble guys fighting for their NFL lives. Shifting over to the offensive line trenches, Braxton Jones once again took all the first-team reps at left tackle. Because non-padded practices favor the offensive line and lack true trench warfare, you cannot read too much into single-day rotations. However, consistency speaks volumes. Jones taking the initial reps in pads earlier in the week and following it up with first-team snaps today suggests he might be pulling away in this competition. Tomorrow's padded session is going to be the ultimate litmus test. If Jones trots out with the starters for a third straight padded practice, it is safe to assume he has locked down that left tackle position with a vice grip, leaving competitors like Kieran Amagaji scrambling to catch up. On the flip side of the ball, the nickel cornerback situation is starting to raise a few eyebrows. With Kyler Gordon sidelined on the PUP list and secondary depth being shuffled around due to recent injuries, the primary starter reps at nickel went to Jalen Jones, with Josh Blackwell spearheading the second unit. While both guys are hard workers who know the system, a straight duel between Jones and Blackwell is not exactly the high-stakes, elite-level position battle fans were hoping to see at this stage of camp. If either player steps up to decisively grab hold of the job over the next 2 weeks, do not be surprised if the front office monitors the waiver wire very closely as roster cuts approach across the league. When you zoom out and look at the big picture, the energy surrounding this squad is undeniable. Rookies like Zayvon Thomas are lighting up practice every single day, building incredible chemistry with backup QBs and proving they are far more than just gadget players. Veterans are getting strategic rest days to keep their legs fresh for the grueling marathon ahead, and the healthy back-and-forth competition between the offense and defense is creating a battle-tested culture. The foundation for something truly special is being laid right now on these practice fields, and every rep brings us one step closer to kickoff.